Daybreak Nigeria from EKTV in the heartbeat of the Southwest. We break your day on EKTV Daybreak Nigeria with inclusive information, news without prejudice, well-articulated reportage, in-depth news analysis, newspaper highlights, business news, sports. Watch EKTV Daybreak Nigeria from 8 to 10 in the morning, Mondays, Tuesdays and Thursdays. EKTV Daybreak Nigeria, your agenda-setting program.
All right, good morning and welcome to today's edition of Daybreak Nigeria, your agenda-setting program. My name is Tunji Salio, and on today's edition of the program, we'll be taking a look at the newly redesigned currencies of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And you're quite aware that the denominations that were redesigned are 200, 500 Naira, and 1,000 Naira. And we are having in the studio this morning the State Director of the National Orientation Agency, NOA, Mrs. Olawumi Famuyiwa, to do justice to, the issue. We'll be talking about, all the issues that concern, the new Naira notes. And we have with us in the studio the State Director of the National Orientation Agency for Ekiti, Mrs. Olawumi Famuyiwa. Thank you for coming on Daybreak Nigeria this morning. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure being on this program once again. Yes, we know that one of your core mandates is to educate, enlighten, and let the public into the policies and programs of the federal government. And the issue of the redesigned notes is one of them. Yes, the money is creeping into the circulation, but there have been a lot of complaints that if you still go to the banks, you get old notes and all of that. Even ATM, I was in one of the banks just on Monday, and they were paying out old currencies. What is happening in view of the deadline issued by the Central Bank of Nigeria? Yes, thank you very much for that wonderful question. In fact, it's something that has been bothering the minds of those in authority and even the CBN. Because like you are aware, we commenced this intensive sensitization of the public about the newly redesigned Naira notes and the need for our people to quickly go to the banks to ensure that they make deposits of their old Naira notes in banks and get the new Naira notes. And part of the directives that the CBN has given banks is that forthwith they are not to load their ATMs with old currency notes, and that there will be no exchange of the old currency notes across counter, so that it can get across to all members of the public, because they want to discourage a situation whereby people with large sums of money or huge sums of money will be the ones that will be able to get the Naira notes within the specified period of time. And like you are aware, this policy is basically to discourage the hoarding of the Naira currency that's outside the banking sector. So in order to curtail a reoccurrence of the fact that people with large volumes of money will go across counter to get those large sums of money back into their custody again, they are mandated that banks, commercial banks, load their ATMs with the new Naira notes. But it's unfortunate because we get feelers too. Like, when we sensitize the public, we go out to get credible feedback from them on the policies that government has put in place. And we've discovered that there have been a lot of complaints that they have been to banks and they are not getting those new Naira notes from the ATM machines. But the CBN has directed that commercial banks ensure that they don't load their ATM machines with old coins. So any bank where such occurs, let's get reports so that we direct same to the Central Bank of Nigeria, so that they'll be able to look into this matter and be able to checkmate this violation of the instructions that are given to them. Okay, yes, our people, for one thing, when situations get to a point, they will start, showing their, characters and their behaviors. The deadline is 31st of this month. Don't you think if banks continue to issue old notes, it will get to a time that people will start rejecting it?
That's what we are saying. It's unfortunate, because by now, any ATM machine you get to, you are supposed to get new Naira notes. So it might a little bit, I don't know, say hinder this deadline, because as at now, some people are still getting the old Naira notes in exchange for their, whatever, when they go there for banking transactions and all that. But this shouldn't be the case, and this is what we are partnering with CBN in this sensitization activities. Last week we embarked on a roadshow together with the CBN officials. They held sensitization across marketplaces. They were there, even CBN officials from Abuja. And prior to that, we had been involved in a series of meetings with them, online, physical, and all that, virtual meetings with the CBN, and they have continuously told us and instructed that banks should ensure that they load their ATM machines with the new currency so that the deadline will be met. So with this development, I want to presume, I don't want to say it categorically, that it might hamper to some extent the ability of people to meet this deadline if commercial banks are still dishing out the old currency notes.
Okay, yes.
But we'll let the appropriate authorities know so that people will not be denied their rights and opportunity to exchange these notes. But one thing I want to encourage people is that whatever old notes they have in their custody, just make sure it gets into your accounts before the deadline.
Okay.
At least it's safer that way. If your monies are in the banks, you'll be able to get the new notes even after the deadline, instead of keeping it at home and not having the new Naira notes.
Yes, let's now talk about the perception of our people to the newly redesigned notes. Some are saying, it's just a kind of, the color, they just changed the color, they did this and all of that, kind of condemning, the notes. Do you see any justification in that? And what do you think they were really expecting when you talk about redesigning Naira notes?
Thank you very much. One thing that we've discovered with human beings is that anytime there's a change, in whatever ramification, change in any ramification is always greeted with some skepticism. People will just always, you remember when there was to be the introduction of the polymer, there were lots of condemnation, and people were saying, this is plastic, this is blah blah blah, this is so, and part of the reasons why the polymer was introduced there was to discourage the handling, the way the paper notes were being handled. And at times you see some of our currency notes, it's an eyesore. And when you compare it to the way we handle other foreign currencies, I don't know, people don't have this mind of patriotism. The currency note is part of a national symbol that identifies us as a people, so we should hold it in high esteem and we should handle them correctly. You see, part of the redesigning of the Naira is to discourage the way people handle the Naira notes. One, because a lot of our currency in circulation are tattered, they are old, some are smeared with all manner of whatever. You see pepper smear, some smelling as if the cold room, whatever that's been stored in the cold room and all that. So this is part of the reasons why this is, and the mandate of the CBN as part of the currency management body is to ensure that currency are redesigned periodically within a space of 5 to 8 years. And you recollect that the last time we had redesigning or introduction of, like for instance, the 1,000 Naira note was introduced 2005 or so thereabouts, and some of the other currencies were redesigned, 1999, the 100 Naira 1999 December, and then the 200 Naira notes, subsequently like that. But the last episode we had was in 2005, which is about 18 years ago. And they are supposed to be redesigning these currencies within a space of 5 to 8 years. So that means we should have done that maybe twice from now or back. But we are just doing this now. So it's part of their currency management policy to ensure that the Naira notes are redesigned. So it's also being redesigned to curtail excessive hoarding of the currency. A lot of people are hoarding. You discover that you have large volume of currency outside the banking sector than within the sector. So this policy is introduced to discourage hoarding and also to discourage counterfeiting. There's a lot of fake Naira notes outside, and you see all these people that are engaged in internet fraud and all that, they counterfeited the Naira notes and all that, and this has been encouraging the lack of trust in our currency. Even when you exchange within and even outside the country, they don't have that trust in the currency notes because they don't know whether it is fake or original anymore. So the CBN policy has been put in place to discourage this counterfeiting and faking of the Naira notes, and to also, like I said, to discourage the large volume of money outside the banking sector and to discourage abuse.
Okay, now talking about the way we handle our currencies, you've talked about it briefly, and I was surprised coming across one of the newly redesigned notes that is so rough. It's been handled in a way that is unbefitting. How do we kind of, though you talked about it briefly, how can we have a change of attitude towards this? You see some women in the market, they keep money in their bra, the way you understand, in a very, very, in a manner that is not befitting of a nation's currency. How can we have a change of attitude towards this?
You see, we have a culture in this country, and it's unfortunate that it's with us. But we believe over time, with more enlightenment, with more exposure of our people, some of this culture will be abrogated or done away with. Before now, that's that you mentioned about our market women putting currency notes in their bra. Once upon a time, there was this enlightenment on the dangers of putting currency notes in the bra when we were doing sensation of cancer. Because by the time when people are not well informed, there's bound to be abuse, and ignorance is the killer. So there are some of these practices that people don't know that is injurious to their very self. So that's, to some extent, I would say there has been a reduction in the practice by market women putting, because then the sensation, we inform them on the need to have pouch around their waist where they can keep money instead of within their bras because it's injurious to their health. That has been reduced. But apart from that, other ways by which we abuse the Naira, like you said, we squeeze it, unlike the way we handle foreign currencies. Some of them go to the bank, maybe they have their children or wards or family members outside the country that send to them dollars and pound sterling. You see the way they handle it. They keep it. That is another nation's currency. Their means of identity, their symbol of identity. But the way we handle our own is unbecoming, and this is why we are consistently telling our people on the dangers of, because it smacks of lack of patriotism. It smacks of not being proud of yourself, your nation, your symbols of identity. And it's not only the Naira notes that are even the currency that have been abused. Even you see the way other people behave when the national anthem is being sung. We are supposed to be at attention in respect for our nation and all that. But you see, even in government functions, you see people moving around, I'm sorry, we also belong to the fourth estate of the realm. You see the cameramen try to catch glimpses of taking pictures of people while the national anthem is being rendered, and all that, and pictures and all that. This is not supposed to be. And the same thing with the national pledge, and even but you see, but the international passport will safeguard that, because it gives us access to other countries. But why do we abuse that which we daily make use of? So there's a need for our people to be well reoriented, because like part of our mandate, like you mentioned earlier, so that I wouldn't to spare rhetorics, I didn't want to begin repeating ourselves on our mandates, but part of it is value reorientation. It's part of why we go out to sensitize people on the way we handle ourselves. Like the Ekiti man will say, is the way you handle your calabash. Is it calabash they call it now? Is the way others will handle it. So if you don't handle what in terms of your very existence well, people will also demean your personality. So this is why we need our people to be well orientated on the need to handle our currency very well.
Okay, let's now talk about the features of the new Naira notes. Something that even if you scratch it, it will kind of peel, or the color will stain your hand and all of that. You've handled it, you've experimented it and all of that. What are the features? Can they really be kind of defaced by mere rubbing your well, as part of the information that we got from the CBN is that particularly the 1,000 Naira notes, you discover that there's a large deposit of ink, blue ink on it. They said it's part of the security features. They call the ink interglow. So there's a large deposit of interglow on the currency, the 1,000 Naira notes. So there's the possibility that when you put it on a white surface, the ink will come off, but that does not mean it will deface the Naira notes. But the one that we are really concerned about is that some are complaining that the golden ink, unfortunately I don't have pieces of the currency here, but let me use, because I have a poster here, let me use this poster as a demonstration of what I'm talking about. You see, this ink, you discover there is a large volume. You have fiscal 200 and 500,
but you don't have the 1,000. You see, you already have your custody. That means you have been able to get possession of it. So this, you see, this is a 200 Naira notes. This will not come off. No matter the surface you rub it on, it will not come off. Same thing with the 500 Naira notes. But this, the mostly counterfeited note is 1,000 Naira. Because people will not want to waste their time counterfeiting the lower denominations. But the highest denomination is what people usually counterfeit. And the CBN is conscious of this, and they have put measures in place to be able to identify which one is the original from the fake. So when you look at this note, let me use the physical one that we have here. If you put this up on the light, you'll see that the picture of Azikwe that is here, sorry for my error, Azikwe here, if you look at, is embossed within this white space. But anyone that is counterfeited will not have this. It's not visible to the physical eyes as you look at the note, but when you put it under light reflection, you'll be able to see that his picture is embossed. Same thing with the 1,000 Naira notes. When you look at this space under light, you see that those pictures are embossed. Yes, but not physically visible. So it's part of the security measures. Then this golden ink will not come off under any circumstance. If you rub it on any surface, or you rub your fingers on it, it will not come off. So but anyone that you have custody of and this golden ink comes off, it's a fake note. So these are some of the ways by which you can identify. But it's unfortunate that our people, even when the public are yet to be in custody of these Naira notes, some have started, see, the mentality of our people. We need a renewal of our mindset, attitudinal reorientation in this nation. Well, like you say, if there's no original, you can't have a fake or counterfeit. So we have the originals in circulation, and also this is very beautiful. All these notes are beautiful. I wonder why people will condemn such beautiful notes as this, but That is part of the culture of our people. So these are the old Naira notes and these are the new Naira notes, and we've been circulating this to the public to ensure that they know the differences in this. So thank you for this.
Okay.
I'm sure you won't want me to go away with that.
So okay, yes. Now, still on the attitude of our people, government will come up with laws that sometimes enforcing such will become problems. The political will is not always there. You come across some, videos on the social media of a particular set of people, flaunting money at parties, dancing on it and all of that. Yet government said, such people, anybody who tries that will be arrested and prosecuted, but not, the law has not been, really enforced, and you see people doing this on a daily basis. How can we, check this?
It's rather unfortunate, because I'm sorry, I'm not castigating our leaders and our policy makers. Most times you discover that there are policies put in place and there are those that are there to enforce such policies. But you see, most of the violators of these laws and directives are usually people that are highly connected opposition. And unfortunately, at times we say those that are supposed to be custodians of our laws are even the abusers of the laws, because you hardly see the low class go to parties to spray huge sums of money. But you see, it's not even only Nigerian currency that they abuse. Even foreign currencies, they want to show their class. And you see people spray dollars, pound sterlings at parties and all that. This is part of what CBN is trying to. But once upon a time, we embarked on a sensation on abuse of Naira. And the policies were put in place then to disabuse the minds of the people from engaging in such practices of trampling upon our Naira notes, our national symbol, of spraying at parties, and that culture has been imbibed by some, but it's unfortunately a few. For instance, if I go to parties, instead of going there to spray, I would rather put those, whatever I want to give inside an envelope, and I'll give to you, and I'll say, that's your spray money. That's the way to handle. You see, sometimes it's always to our detriment when we go to such parties and we spray, because you open the eyes of people that have ulterior motives. That guy, he was at that party, he was able to spray so amount, so maybe in the night they will trail such a person to the home, and there are some disadvantages of such practices at times. So this is the danger of some of the practices that we unconsciously engage in to the detriment of our own selves. So it is part, you see, if our Naira is handled very well, our currency is handled very well, their priority might not be the need for even designing within the spaces of time. But unfortunately, most of our Naira notes are eyesores.
Okay, now, yes, you've talked so much on the new Naira notes and the need for people to take their old notes to the bank and get them exchanged. What efforts, are you making as in your agency towards ensuring that, the CBN releases enough new notes to all these banks? Because when you get to some of these banks, what they tell you is that they don't have it in stock, and you go to parties, you see all these people selling money, mint, you see the money in their hands. How do they get it?
Thank you very much. In fact, the CBN is so concerned about this, and they have directed that any parties that you go to, they've really frowned at this, and there's a way they can find out which bank has released such currency for money exchanges. Part of the mandates we have is to sensitize people, and which we have been doing at any organized fora that we have, and in our interaction with the public ever since this sensation drive has started, is to get people informed. We've been to local government areas, council areas, to the traditional institution. Even immediately after this engagement, I will be at Ekiti at the Louis Palace again on the same drive, and some of our officers, all our officers in the local government areas are fully engaged. They are at different places, markets and all the motor parks and all that, to sensitize people. So part of the mandate we have is to let the people know that any party you go to and you discover that people are exchanging these bills of currency, new notes, just make sure you are able to get a copy of that note. For each note, there are marks, there are numberings. The CBN knows which bank collected so denomination, because there are numberings from maybe 1 to 1,000 or 200,000. So they will be able to identify and trace the bank that released that money for them in circulation, because they are very, very serious about it. In fact, there was a time, it will surprise you, let me just give you this personal experience. Because I was engaged in sensitization, and I was not able to have the physical new notes like you gave to me now. So I had to call a bank manager to please help me change my old notes so that I'll be able to get it. And because of the cashless policy, I don't carry cash liquid. So I had to transfer to her to please help me exchange. And you know, when you are doing internet transfer, you write the purpose for which. So when I just said money exchange, immediately she called me. She said, I cannot do it. That narrative that I'm exchanging, we are not doing. I can lose my job for it. So it's as bad as that the CBN has directed all their bank officials not to engage in such practice. So people that engage in such sharp practices, they need to be reported. Because it's like the government is not serious, but the government is serious. But people, when we talk about even security, the security officers cannot act in isolation. They need information. So the CBN cannot enforce these directives or punitive measures except they get the information. So let's get them informed that so-so Naira note was exchanged at so-so party and whatever, or you take picture of whoever is carrying the volumes of money and you get a copy and you let them know. So we all have is a dual responsibility. The CBN is doing their part. Let the public also do their part. Who are the perpetrators of this? You cannot but tell that there will always be a black sheep amongst the folks.
Okay, now yes, one of way of doing things in this part of the world, our attitude towards issues like this is that we always wait till the last day before we do some of these things. Look at the issue of PVC collection. The state government declared today work free so that public workers can go to their respective local governments or INEC designated centers to collect their PVC, but some will still not go there until they have maybe 48 hours left. Then you see the rush. You see a lot of people on queue trying to do this. Why? How can we change this? Because the deadline is 31st of this month for the new Naira notes, and a lot of people are still not bothered. Some are still waiting till 29th, 30th, where they might not be able, to get it changed. So what's a message to our people to always do things at the right time?
Well, once upon a time we had this a mantra in our organization: do the right thing, transform Nigeria. Do the right thing, keep to time. Do the right thing, clean your environment, and all that and all that. The bane of our problem, like how we always say, and well, another opportunity has come for me to reiterate on this and to hammer on it again, that the bane of our problem in Nigeria is our attitude. And this is why we need attitudinal rebirth and attitudinal reorientation. We are blessed. We are a country that is greatly blessed with all manner of resources. In fact, much more human resources, but our attitude. Like you said, today has been declared public holiday for people to go and collect their PVC. You will still discover that some will not still go. how to collect those PVCs. If you remember, the deadline had lapsed. People clamored for extension. And because of that, INEC, being a listening body, extended the deadline, carried it to the local government offices, area offices, for people in the grassroots to be able to access it. They carried it to the ward level, and now back for them to people, but those that will not hear. Even the scripture says, they that have the spirit, let them hear what the spirit is saying to the church. Some people will not stay here, but the fact remains that we want to encourage our people, because a lot of us, we are crying, a lot of us, we are complaining. In fact, this morning I was listening to the radio, and a lot of complaints about the skyrocketing prices of fuel and all that, and we are saying this government. What have you done to contribute to ensuring that you have people in place that will help you solve your problems? The only power that you have is your voting power, and when you don't have your permanent voter's card, how do you change narrative? So I want to admonish and encourage our people to ensure that they go out to go and collect their PVCs. That is aside. But the main reason why we're here this morning is on the new Naira notes. Let us go out within the space of time to avoid rushing. Because by the time you now get to the last day or day before, there will be long queues, and at the end of the day, some might not be able to succeed in exchanging those Naira notes. Now you can go to the bank, the banking hall, make your deposits. Then you can, whatever you want to spend. Part of the reason for this redesign is to encourage this cashless policy of the federal government. So what you see, there's, well, to the glory of God, we want to believe that there's been a reduction in breaking into houses now, because they know most people don't have money at home anymore. So this is why the federal government is saying, let us engage in cashless policy and to encourage the e-Naira policy of the internet. I can stay here now and do transaction to anywhere without even handling physical cash, except maybe when we go to the marketplaces. And even at marketplaces, ab initio, before now, market men and women even still allow you to do transfers. But because some people have abused that method again, they will transfer, and the money they will show you it has transferred, but you not get to the market or the seller. And because of that, some of them are being conscious of conscious
of accepting
transfers now, because some people have these fraudulent-minded people. So that is why it's been discouraging. But if not for that, a lot of transactions, even in the marketplaces, the public space, you can do your cashless without even carrying currency, and it will reduce this abuse of spray of Naira notes and all that. So essentially, I want to encourage our people, let us not wait until the last day to avoid stress, to avoid overcrowding at the banks and waste of time, because time is money. Time is money. The amount of time you spend on a queue or in where you should have ordinarily gone to do it when there's just less queue and few people in place. So let them go out. Please, we want to encourage you. We are appealing to our people to go out, because some always have this mindset that don't mind them, they will extend the date. Is it not government? They will extend, and that is always.
They are waiting for the extension. Even after extended, they will still not go.
No, that is the attitude or the culture of our people. But we pray and believe that over time this culture will be done away with.
Okay, yes. Before we allow you go, let's have your advice to our people on the way we should handle our, currencies and all of that.
Yes, I have a few points here on how we should handle our currency notes. First and foremost, I want to talk to the elites and even bank officials, because most times when they are counting the notes, there's this tendency they want to write the sum total of the figure of the Naira notes or the currency. We should desist from this. At times you get some notes, they will write 100. Some in biro, in pen, they write 89. That means they have counted maybe the currency and they are now trying to take stock. And the next paper that they have is that currency. It's not a sheet of paper to be written on. So we want our people to stop this practice.
Then yes, on that, have you taken desensitization to the banks because they are the most guilty of this writing on the currency?
Sure. Okay. They are informed. We still continue. We have interactions with them. Yes. We collaborate with them. Then what are people to stop squeezing our Naira notes? Don't squeeze it. Handle it very well. You can straighten it out. Get purses and put our pouches, our market men and women, because the people that are most guilty of this are the market women, traders, taxi drivers, Okada riders.
They squeeze it. Okada riders. They do it most times.
So let them get pouches around their waist or wherever, or purses, and keep these notes there. And we should stop tearing our Naira notes. In those there's this misbelief, or whatever I'd call it. They give them Naira notes so that they say for the currency to disappear. They will tear the edge of the notes. Some of these are our superstitious beliefs. So they should please desist from tearing the Naira notes. In fact, you undo some, they will have used sellotape and all that. There's no need for that. Then they should stop staining the Naira notes. Palm oil sellers, pepper sellers, fish sellers, you undo some notes, the way they smell and stick, they should please ensure that they stack it the way they will stock or stack their foreign currencies that are sent to them, and they should stop sewing our currency in water, or they put it among their clothing, and they want to wash it, they soak it in water, and these are some of the reasons why these Naira notes are defaced, they are deformed, they are tattered and all that. Some of them will have even faded because you take your clothes to the laundry instead of you checking all your pockets where you have hidden your money before. So they should desist from soaking this. And what else do we do now? Stop stepping on our Naira notes, matching on it, or spraying at parties. We know you are affluent, you know you are rich, you know you are wealthy, but please, you can give whatever you don't need to flaunt your wealth. You don't need to flaunt your wealth. Put your whatever you want to give the celebrants in envelopes and give to them. And even it will be easier, you just write. But
on the envelope.
All the spraying is just for what do you call it? Show off.
Okay. That's what and some of our people too, if you don't spray them money at parties, they will kind of feel that they don't have people.
It's a culture. You go to the party, sure. Well, you have a lot of ashwebi and whatever. You go, that would determine that you have large.
They call the elderly ones. Their friends go there and spray them.
You don't need to spray. When you hand over envelope, they will know that it's money that is there. It's for your own safety. It's for your own safety most of the time. And this show off of
preservation of our currencies.
So we should stop stepping on it. These are part of the ways by which we abuse the currency. It's our national symbol. It tells who we are. When they see us, they see our currency notes, it tell us, these people are dirty people, because the currency tells of your identity as a people. So we should please handle it very well and portray Nigeria and Nigerians in good light to other nationalities.
Thank you very much. We've been having a conversation with the State Director of the National Orientation Agency in Ekiti State, Mrs. Olawumi Famuyiwa, and she's been able to let us into all we need to know about the new Naira notes in circulation, and that the deadline would it's the 31st of this very month. So take your old notes to the banks to exchange for new ones. Thank you so much for your time on Daybreak Nigeria.
Thank you very much.
And we wish you success in your advocacy, your sensitization as you go on, because you said you're going to Inyi today to continue.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Yes, Daybreak Nigeria.
It's a pleasure being here once again. To our viewers, thank you for listening.
All right, the program continues with newspaper highlights shortly after this timeout. Please stay tuned.
Watch EKTV Daybreak Nigeria from 8 to 10 in the morning, Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays.